Hello, welcome to another video here on Lissa's Raw Food Romance. Today I am answering another question. This one came from Instagram and they were asking, Lissa, aren't you scared of oxalates and do you eat them? So let's chat a little bit about that in this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you being here with me. Before we begin, though, there are only 3 days left to get the plant-based bundle. The plant-based bundle right now is the biggest Black Friday sale and the best way to get a lot of our content. We have contributed 12 things to this bundle, including the hand salads wrap ebook, the taco book, crackers, smoothies, soups, holiday menu, Make It Raw 4, and our courses like the microgreens course, a live lunch, the Align and Awaken Affirmation Meditation Challenge. There are 12 things in there valued at almost $900 and all you pay is $50. There's only 3 days left to get it. So click on the link for the plant-based bundle in the description box below. If you didn't want the bundle, there's also 3 days left to get our Black Friday sale, which is 60% off any of our ebooks. So our ebooks individually or collections are all 60% off with code RAWFOOD60. And you can use that code at checkout. Again, link down below, payhip.com/rawfoodromance. There's also, other sales going on. So head on down into the description box below and see all the fun stuff that's going on. And yeah, let's get to the question. Oh, our school community is also 30% off. So head on down there if you're interested in that. Let's answer that question. Lissa, aren't you scared of oxalates and do you eat them? So I do eat foods with oxalates and I am not scared of oxalates. Now, there are some people who may have compromised kidneys who may need to pay a little bit more attention to the amount that they're eating. But for the average person, this is not something that we need to concern ourselves with, and I'll share why. Now, again, we don't need to concern ourselves with it if we are doing the proper things to naturally deal with the oxalates because they're naturally in our foods. And there's some things that people do or don't do that actually contribute more to the problem than actually even eating the foods with oxalates anyways. So first, I wanted to share that our bodies make most of the oxalates more than we would ever get in our diet anyways. 70 to even up to 80%, according to some suggestions, 70 to 80% of the oxalates that we have in our bodies are made by our bodies through metabolic pathways, especially from like amino acid breakdown and vitamin C too. But amino acid breakdown, that's why eliminating vegetables and eating more animal products isn't the answer to lowering your oxalates because your body's going to have to deal with all of those amino acids from the animal products, which is going to create more oxalate anyways. So it's not eliminating the food that's the problem because our body already makes so much of it. The goal is healthy metabolism, not elimination, right? We need to work with our body and support our body to metabolize oxalates instead of trying so hard to avoid it. And here we are, scaring people away from eating vegetables that they're not even really eating anyways, right? Most people aren't eating, for the most part, most people aren't eating an abundance of things like spinach or beets or beet greens or what have you, chard, that kind of thing. They're already not eating a lot of that, so scaring them away from eating it isn't helping because their body's already making a lot of the oxalates. So again, it's about healthy metabolism and working with our body instead of elimination. We shouldn't be eliminating it. We should be working with our body so that we can deal with the oxalates properly. So one of the first ways that we can support healthy oxalate metabolism and not have to worry about it is to work on our microbiome. Get a test to see where you stand, like Ombre Lab, for example. That's the testing that we use. It can tell you how much of a specific bacteria that you have in your gut that eats oxalates. It eats oxalates for its energy. So if you have an abundance of this bacteria, it's called Oxalobacter formigenes. Again, Oxalobacter formigenes. And it's a bacteria that thrives on oxalates. So when you eat oxalate food, it goes into your colon. This bacteria eats it and converts it into inactive forms, that means that there's less oxalate that gets absorbed into your bloodstream, which your kidneys thus will filter later. So having a really good, strong amount of that bacteria can really mitigate a lot of the oxalates that you are eating or that your body is actually naturally making through metabolism. So it's very important to make sure that they are doing well and you're feeding them by feeding them oxalates because that's how they're going to thrive as well. The problem is that some people have compromised guts. So if they have a lower amount of this bacteria, then yes, lowering the amount of the oxalate including foods may help them, but not eliminate them because again, these bacteria grow and multiply when they have a food source, right? If you take away their food source, they're going to starve and then they're going to have a smaller quantity of them. So it's just going to make everything worse. So you do need to feed them and help them to grow and flourish into a better colony. So if you do have a compromised gut, that's why I suggest doing a gut microbiome test to see how much of that bacteria you have in your colon already. On my microbiome test, I have a very, very high amount of Oxalobacter formigenes, so I don't worry about it at all. Those guys are dealing with a lot of the oxalates I'm eating anyways. Another thing to keep in mind is calcium intake. A lot of people aren't getting enough calcium in their diet, and thus this can play a role in how our body uses or metabolizes oxalates. So by eating foods rich in calcium with the oxalate foods, which usually there's calcium in the oxalate foods, but having extra calcium-rich foods along with that can help bind to the oxalates and it turns it into an inactive form that just passes through the body. So the problem, again, isn't eating the oxalates. It's not getting enough calcium. But on top of all of it, on top of all the things that we've said already, the number one problem that causes more kidney stones than avoiding oxalates is hydration levels. This is key. Hydration levels is so important. If you are concerned with oxalates or kidney health or what have you, increase your hydration. Again, on a raw food diet, that's very easy because we're eating a lot of hydrating raw foods, but drinking water as well, filtered obviously, is going to be beneficial because that is what is going to keep our urine diluted. The problem isn't the oxalates, again, it's the concentration of it in our bodies. And when we are dehydrated, which most people are chronically dehydrated, the concentration of oxalates in our kidneys is going to go up greatly. So if we want to make sure everything is flushing through very nicely and smoothly, we need to increase our hydration. So again, increase your hydration. That's the number one thing I would say. And then increase your calcium intake. And also feed your microbiome, get that bacteria up there so that they can deal with a lot of it as well. And on a side note, there is some research that suggests that oxalates can be beneficial for us because it binds to minerals. There has been some suggestion that it can be like a chelator. It can actually bind to heavy metals as well as calcium. So in a way, it could act as a chelation for the heavy metals. And some say that it can have antioxidant and antimicrobial properties in smaller amounts. So there are some things that say that they are beneficial to us. So not only do they feed our microbiome, those certain bacteria, but they can play those other roles as well. We need more research on that, but that's very interesting. And again, people are being scared away from eating these foods when in fact, it's not the foods themselves that's a problem. It's other things in our diet and lifestyle that are actually causing them to be a problem. Most people don't have a problem with them, especially if they're hydrated, they're eating enough calcium, they have a good microbiome, and it's not something to be scared of. So context is everything. Oxalates are part of natural plant biology or chemistry, and they're a natural part of our diets as well. So it's not about, again, elimination. It's about metabolism and supporting our bodies so that we can deal with it properly. So that's my answer to that question. I'm not scared of it. We eat oxalate containing foods. Obviously, we don't rely on all of our calories to come from an abundance of those foods. Like we still eat spinach, we still do beets, we still do these common foods, almonds, I believe. Some people say chia or whatever. We still eat those foods, but we don't worry about it because we take action in other areas and we eat variety, we eat abundance. Again, we don't focus on that one, like we don't getting all of our calories from spinach, for example. So we are much more focused on variety than avoidance. So thank you for asking that question. It was a really good one. And don't forget to check out the sales going on. Two of them are ending in 3 days. So the plant-based bundle and the 60% off our ebooks, those two are ending in 3 days. You have 3 days left to get them. Link in the description box below. And for the 60% off code off our ebooks, it's raw food 60. So head on to payhip.com/rawfoodromance to get that. Our school community is still 30% off, and that's going until the end of the year. So if you wanted to join, start fresh into the new year, enjoy some live raw food classes, watch all the replays, get ready for the new year, join the community. It is 30% off. You don't need a code. It's already discounted. It's $33 a month instead of $47 a month. So head on over there and check it out. And we will be back tomorrow for another video. Again, only 3 days remain to get the bundle and that sale. So I will see you tomorrow for another video. Until then, I love you and fruit on.